Okay, now here's the latest edition of our podcast, Existential Ambiguity. We're going through Wetti Muni's The Buddha's Teaching and the Ambiguity of Existence, and discussing it point by point. Right now we're on chapter 4, and this time we want to go and make a little bit more detailed explanation of the stages of appropriation. And this is the process of mine making and I making. This is how the false ego is created. And it's going on all the time. We do it automatically. It's a habit.
Many times a day?
Constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah, it's something we learned when we were very, very young. Literally in our mother's arms. When we were a little baby. To differentiate ourselves from our experience. And to process our experience in a way that appropriates it or makes it mine. And from that appropriated experience, we create an I. This is how the false ego is created. You know, there's so many teachers and so many scriptures saying a false ego is bad and all these things. So how do you stop creating false ego? Well, first you have to see how it's done.
Yes.
You know, just like if there's let's say there's a magician, and the magician's going around doing this trick, and he's betting money, and he's like tricking everybody and cheating everybody out of their money. How do you stop him? Well, first you have to know how the trick is done.
Yeah.
Then you can reveal it. You can say, see, I know how he's doing that. It's not real. It's just an illusion. But until you know how the trick is done, you can't unmask the cheating, because it still looks like he's legitimate, like he's honest. See? So what we're doing here, we're not trying to stop making the false ego. We're trying to simply bring awareness into the process.
Recognize it in ourselves.
Yes. Self-observation. There's no need to make an effort of will to stop it.
That's impossible.
So, yes, it is. The habit is too deeply ingrained.
Yes.
It's like quitting smoking or something like that. Some deeply ingrained addictive habit.
You have to replace it with a more powerful procedure. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take one habit. It's like if you have a thorn stuck in your skin somewhere, and to get it out, you take another thorn and use it to dig the first one out. Okay? They're both thorns. And when you're done, you throw them both away.
Yeah.
But that's the whole principle on which the Eightfold Path is based. The Eightfold Path is known as the raft. The cascade of suffering due to the creation of the false ego is called the flood.
So you need to fabricate something.
We need to make a raft to cross over the flood. And when we get to the other side, we don't need the raft anymore. So we can let it go. We can just take it apart or throw it away or whatever. We're free. There's no need to drag the raft around after making it across. But what we're doing now is building the raft. We're going through the process. And this is where it starts. With a undistorted awareness of the entire teaching of the Buddha. When we're done, by the time we're done going through this book, we will be able to think independently through the entire teaching from one end to the other in a consistent and logical way. And we'll be able to explain it to others.
And most importantly, put it into practice.
Yes. But I'm saying that the standard of understanding is that high.
Yes.
Otherwise, someone may be able to convince you of a distorted understanding of this teaching. Or you may fall into a bad habit by yourself and not be able to get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Because of lack of knowledge. And, we'll get into all these issues later. Right now, we're going to go back through the 6 stages.
Now we have to understand where we're at.
Yes. The Buddha has given these stages in the, where's the sutta? Here it is, the Mula Pariyaya Sutta. Mula means root, Pariyaya means structure. The root structure, or the fundamental structure of experience. And he says, here, monks, the uninstructed Putujana, unseeing of the noble ones, ignorant of the noble teaching, unseeing of the good men, ignorant of the good men's teaching, perceives earth, solidity, as earth. Perceiving earth as earth, he conceives earth. He conceives in earth. He conceives from earth. He conceives earth is for me. He delights in earth. Why is that? Because he has not comprehended it, I tell you. Okay, so the Buddha has given these 6 stages, and we're going to add another one for the sake of explanation. So here's the explanation, and I hope this will make it clear. Stage 0. Like good nerds, we're going to start counting from 0. I perceive a lump of matter in front of me. Let's say a chair. This is the immediate experience. This is simply a sense perception. I see this lump of matter in front of me. I haven't recognized it. I haven't analyzed it. I haven't done anything to it.
You're just conscious of it.
Right. Just barely conscious of the experience itself. Now, in stage 1, he perceives X as X. In other words, if we're using the example of a chair, the lump of matter that he perceived in the previous step is recognized as a chair. Okay? But I'm not reading anything into it yet. I'm just recognizing that this particular lump of matter is a chair. Okay, that's stage 1. In stage 2, Buddha says, perceiving X as X, he conceives X. Now, what is conceiving? What is conception? Do we have our dictionary handy here? Yes, of course. Conceive. To form a mental representation of. For example, devise a plan or idea in the mind. Okay, that is conceive. To conceive means to create an idea in the mind. So now we've got 2 things. We've got a lump of matter, and we have the recognition of the matter as a chair. Actually, 3 things. Okay, and now we have conceived something. Well, what is it that we have conceived exactly? I. Okay? I conceive the concept chair. Okay? You know, if you're involved in action, there is a kind of action where you act appropriately, recognizing things as they are, without this extra layer of conception. You don't, let's say you're practicing martial arts.
A master of some trade.
Or a master of a trade, a musician. A musician playing along, he doesn't say to himself, well, that's an F minor 7th chord. But he recognizes the F minor 7th chord and plays along with it appropriately. You see? So there's no necessity really to add this extra layer of conception.
No.
This is something extra that we're doing.
A superstructure on our experience.
We're adding something to our experience that wasn't there in the original experience. Okay? That's stage 2. And what I have done is I have added the conception of a chair, and I've added the conception of I. Because who's doing the conceiving? I. Okay? But I, at this point, is very much implicit. The attention, the focus of the attention still on the chair. Okay, now in stage 3, he conceives in X. I superimpose the concept chair on the particular lump of matter disclosed by the immediate experience. At this level of awareness of the lump of matter, the concept of chair is tied up with the awareness, aware of it as chair. Similarly, the conceit I is tied up with the awareness. Who is aware of it? I'm aware of it as I. Thus it was said by the Buddha, he conceives in X, meaning that I, quote unquote, have superimposed a concept or recognition of the particular lump of matter as chair. The importance of this stage will become apparent later in our discussion. Why? We were talking about that this morning. I can have a range of colors going from black to white, a smooth gradient of color. In this range there are infinite shades of gray. But if you ask a fundamentalist, he's going to say, no, there's only black and white and nothing in between. But if you ask someone who has a little more intelligence, at least about color, they're going to say, no, there's many shades of gray in between black and white. How many shades of gray you recognize are up to you. Okay? You superimpose
a system.
Your system of definitions of colors between black and white on this gradient. The gradient is there. It's natural. That's like the immediate experience. And then when you superimpose and say, well, that's 10% gray, that's 20%, 30%, 40%, like that. You superimpose a scale of measurement. That's our creation. That's our conception. We conceive in the thing we're perceiving a certain scale or measurement of, or identification of, or recognition of what it is.
That's not inherent in the thing.
It's not inherent at all. We superimpose our system, whatever it is, our ontology of color in this case, or of furniture in the case of the chair. Okay, that's a Louis XIV straight back dinner chair. No, it's not. It's just a cheap imitation antique. But we like to think of it in that way because that is the background that we bring to the experience. Okay, and that's ego. That's false ego. Because why is it false? It's not present in the original experience. It's something we add. It's a fabrication. Another thing about this is the fabrication now begins to intercede between us and our experience.
So we perceive less and less of the actual experience and more of our superstructure.
That's right. That's right. Until, in the case of a neurotic, for example, or even a psychotic, is dealing only with their own symbols. The experience means nothing. They've become detached from reality. That's what schizophrenia is. The skits, the division, is between the reality and the person.
Yes.
And they have put that there. It's not there in the experience. The experience is just whatever it is. But they have given it some meaning that is so crazy.
Even crazier than most people.
That's right. So what we're really talking about here is with the socially acceptable level of craziness that most people operate
Because
on.
everyone has this screen between themselves and reality.
Almost everyone. Except for the Arhat. So this is stage 3. He conceives in X. Well, another meaning of conception is to become pregnant with something. a child or something else. Yeah. In this case, the perception, the immediate experience becomes pregnant with the concept of the self.
Yes.
Okay? And this is more explicit than the previous one, where he conceives X. He conceives of the perception as a chair. Okay? But he hasn't put too much I in it yet. But in stage 3, he conceives in X what? The idea of a self. I am perceiving this chair. Okay? And how we perceive the chair depends on our ontology. It depends on our background. It depends on the particular prejudice, the particular slant or spin that we introduce into the situation. Okay, in stage 4, he conceives from X. Now, at this level, there is the appearance that I is something separate from X. It also shifts the focus of the awareness from the object, the experience of the object, to I.
Back to the subject.
Back to the subject, right.
And the subject then gets his identification from the object.
That's correct. I am the person looking at the chair. Or I am the person looking at this color of gray, in the other example. And then finally, in stage 5, he conceives, again, conceiving and making something up. X is for me. This is my chair. Now the separation between the object and the I is explicit. The person is aware that this is my chair. There is I, and I exist separate from X, and X is for me. Okay? Now, this is the stage that conditions the Putujana's experience to create suffering.
Because he either has the object or he hasn't.
Right.
And it changes and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it gets complicated from this point out. But this is the simple, basic process of the creation of the I. The creation of the I comes out of the perception of ordinary phenomena that we overlay a superstructure of interpretation upon. Okay? And we conceive in that perception the subject I, looking at the thing or experiencing the thing, whatever it is.
And then a sense of identification from the thing.
Yes, I thing. And then we turn that around. My thing. And this is called appropriation or subjugation. Okay, we're subjugating the thing. This is my chair. I can do whatever I want with it. I can sit on it, I can chop it up and burn it for firewood or whatever. This is my chair. So this is actually a violation of one of the moral principles of the Buddha, which is taking what is not given. On a subtle level.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not physically taking it, but subtly you are claiming it as yours.
Yeah.
And this is the essence of egotism. What was that song? You're so vain, I bet you think this song is about you. And there's one verse where the guy walks into a party and he thinks all of the women in the party could be his partner, want to be his partner. He thinks like that. Right? This is the essence of egotism.
Yeah.
Nothing has been given. Nothing has even been offered. But he assumes it's mine. You see? This is egotism. When we see somebody do that, we say, what, an egotist? How vain, how proud. So, in this way, we all do this. Maybe we keep it a little bit more discreet, you know. But we still do it. You're going down the street and you see a nice looking car and you think, oh boy, that car is for me. That's my kind of car. See? Even though you know it's not your car, but you get the feeling of I in it.
Yeah. Should be your car.
Yeah. It's a nice car. I want that car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get one of those cars.
You deserve that car.
There. It's mine. It's for me.
It's really my car.
Did you see Harold and Maude?
No.
Oh, that's so funny. This old lady, she's like 80 years old. And she went to Tibet and was, there's some vague reference to she was in some monastery for a while and blah, 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 and this and that. And so now she doesn't think of anything as mine or yours, right? Well, one of her friends just happens to be a used car dealer and gave her a ring of skeleton keys. So wherever she wants to go, if she wants to go someplace, she'll just like find the right key and open up the nearest car and drive off. And she never gets caught because she's just this little old lady, Nobody would ever think that she's stealing cars. There's a great scene where she steals the hero's car. Right? They go to he goes to a funeral.
Yeah.
This is his hobby. He goes to funerals, and she sees him. He sees her there, right? And she's like got some popcorn, She's eating popcorn. She smiles and waves to him, hi. And he's like, And then later on, everybody's going home, and he sees her driving out in his car, and he goes, stop. And he goes, that's my car. And she goes, oh, this is your car. That's a great line. So, anyway.
Most people would side with the guy, with the dude, but
yeah,
they would be wrong.
Well,
yes and no?
Yes and no, okay? Because when we perceive this is for me. To us, it's real. To us, it's real, and it has consequences.
Stuff happens to it, and we suffer.
You try to take that thing away from me, I'm going to fight with you. I'm going to report you to the cops. See? Instead of just saying, oh, you need that? Okay, here, take it. Around here, it's like that. Around here, if you need something, you just say, hey, I need this thing, and 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, well, yeah, just take it. It's okay. No, the guy needed a power saw, a chainsaw to cut they had all these logs stacked up, firewood for the kitchen, and couldn't even get them down the hill because they were so big. And so we just went out and bought a chainsaw and gave it to him. That's the mood around here. It's like, well, whatever needs to be done, somebody can arrange to do it. Okay, fine. And
I'm receiving presents every day here.
Yeah. Huge, valuable presents. Like the facility to meditate properly.
Oh, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Not to mention the food. The
company of the monks. They're chanting. Their wonderful mood, that they have. Their detachment and so on. So we get so many benefits from being here. We feel like so much gratitude, It's like, what can we do?
Yeah.
And everybody here feels like that.
Yeah. This
is a very special thing. But anyway, we're getting ahead of our story. Our story is people are making their I by making things mine. Okay? In common sense, the Putujana mentality, he thinks, I am making things mine. Okay? But actually, it's the reverse. You make it yours, you make it mine, and out of that you make I. I am the owner of this car. This is my tool. This is my room. These are my clothes.
You get your identification from your relationship with different objects.
That's right.
Through the 5 senses or the 6th, the mind.
That's right. And therefore, our sense of I is changing all the time.
Yes.
Depending on our experience.
Yeah. Every object that you contact creates a different kind of eye.
Yes.
Where you think it's the same eye, but it's actually a different eye.
No, it seems to be the same eye because there are so many experiences, one right after the other.
Where you say eye.
Yeah, eye. It appears to be continuous, just like the frames of a movie.
Yeah.
The frames of a movie appear to be continuous motion, but actually we know they're not. They're 24 or 30 frames per second. So there's actually no motion in them whatsoever. They're just a bunch of still pictures. We stitch them together into the illusion of motion. Did you know there are tribes in Africa who don't see that way?
No, I didn't.
No, they actually see a bunch of individual frames.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The same tribe, if you show them a photo like in a newspaper, all they see is a bunch of little dots.
Huh.
They don't see that it makes a picture.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they don't have that software installed that strings together those incidents like that.
About the movie, I was going to say, where's your eye if you see a really interesting movie? And you're like totally in the movie, your eye's gone. You
put your eye into one of the characters in the movie. You identify with that character.
Yeah, but sometimes if it's really interesting, your eye stops.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. Especially during a Dhamma talk. Like if you're really listening intently to a Dhamma talk, there's no eye making going on. Unless you're thinking, oh, I'm going to meditate like that. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to try to become aware of that.
But if it's a good Dhamma teacher, he'll stop you from doing that.
Well, hopefully we can bring people to that point where they get so wrapped up in this wonderful teaching of the Buddha that they forget to make an eye out of it.
They see the dynamics of the thing without the eye.
Now that would be really cool, and I hope that our listeners can understand what we're getting at here, that by looking into this process of eye making, it'll stop. It'll stop because it's false. It's a fabrication. Just like if somebody's doing something wrong and they feel like somebody's watching them, they'll pause. They'll stop. You know, it's happened to you. It's happened to everyone.
Yeah.
You're doing something you know you shouldn't do, and then you hear a little noise behind you, and you think, oh my God, somebody's looking.
I'll tap.
So you pause, you stop. It's the same kind of thing. When you can look into yourself and see this process in action, and believe me, it's going on every minute. So at any time, you can look into yourself and see it. Although I admit certain times are easier to see than others.
Yeah.
Still, if you were to develop your vision at this level, you would definitely be able to see the process in action.
If you walk around looking for it, you'll see it very clearly.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, walking down the street and seeing a nice car. Or a nice person of the opposite sex or whatever. Anything that's desirable, right? You start to run this process on it. There it is, and then I that, and then my that. That is for me. That is mine.
And then just seeing, without anything.
Just the seeing will stop the fabrication.
The awareness of the sense seeing the object.
Yeah. That's where we want to be.
Yeah.
We want to be in the pure awareness of it. And we'll know what to do. Yeah. We'll know how to respond. Don't worry. We have native intelligence, just like every other living entity. We don't need this mind and this ego. And all that. It actually gets in the way. It would increase a person's reaction time. And this was one of the things that L. Ron Hubbard used to sell Scientology. They actually discovered that when a person runs out their engrams, their mental recordings that contain pain, unconsciousness, and like that, strong negative emotion, that their reaction time increases. It's easy to understand. There's less software.
Yeah.
Less
all this stuff running, waiting to contact this stuff.
Yeah. You're lightening up your load of mental baggage.
Yeah.
And so there's less to process and you can go quicker. So they discovered there's actually a decrease in reaction time.
Yeah.
And so what to speak of, like letting go of this process of eye-making.
Yeah, it'll change your reality fundamentally.
Yeah. But I don't think they're going to start training fighter pilots in this anytime soon.
Well, they are training soldiers in mindfulness.
Yeah.
To increase concentration and trauma and everything.
Who was telling that they don't call them Green Berets anymore. What do they call them now? The Delta Force guys. The extra special elite troops.
Yeah.
Most of their training now is about mindfulness and making decisions, situational awareness, and being able to analyze the aspects of the situation and take the proper action.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good idea.
Most of their training. And they are trained to put themselves in an auto-hypnotic trance where all this thoughts of the consequences of the action are set aside.
That's not so good.
Huh?
That's
well,
not so good.
Yeah, but because they're involved in killing people and stuff like that. But the idea is they're free to assess the situation and make a determination without considering all the baggage.
Without I.
Yes, right.
Without the I from the past. Now it's the Green Beret I that takes over.
Yeah, whatever. Well, anyway, all this stuff can be misused, and probably has or probably is being misused.
Will be.
But what we're trying to say is that you can lighten your load significantly by just dropping the process of making I out of every experience.
You'll see so much more of your experience.
Oh yeah, it'll be more available to you. There's not so much software in between you and the experience. Your awareness is direct.
What about all those I can't?
Oh, let's not even go there, okay?
Yeah.
Because that conception still validates the existence of the self.
But everyone has that if they were able to see things pristinely.
The thing is, making the I happens just as much around negative experiences, displeasurable experiences, as it does around pleasurable or potentially pleasurable experiences.
Both mine, everything, but also I don't want this, I don't want that.
That's right. Acceptance and rejection. The mind is about acceptance and rejection. And this is another thing you find in many, many teachings and many, many scriptures. But nobody except the Buddha gives this step-by-step process as this is how it takes place. And that's very valuable because when you look into yourself, you can find it. If somebody just tells you, well, you shouldn't be so hung up on acceptance and rejection.
That's easy to say.
That's reflective consciousness. Yeah. You see, that's reflective experience. Yeah, you can look back and say, okay, I was too much into value judgments and this and that, but it doesn't really help you in your immediate experience.
Next time that thing that's valuable to you, then you're gonna go for it, unless you're like.
The question is, how do you transform yourself? How do you alter the flow of your consciousness and awareness? How do you shift the focus of your awareness off of this unnecessary, there's all this unnecessary nonsense. The dog's fighting over something completely
some wild pig should not be there.
Yeah, right. Dogs are great at that, huh? Ruff, ruff, ruff. This should not be. This must not be. They're in total denial. I deny your existence on my property.
Yes.
Ruff, ruff, ruff.
And I'll keep freaking out until you leave.
Really? They just, all they can do is make a disturbance. They don't contribute anything positive. They're like politicians. All they can do is hassle you, you know, and you just go along with them so they'll stop. They're bullies.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is all due to this process of I. I and mine. The dog is thinking, this is my territory. The politician is thinking, this is my territory. Isn't it?
Yes.
And if you don't do what they want you to do, they simply bark at you until you leave or just cave in and do it. And that's the only power they have, is to create a disturbance based on I and mine. All the disturbance, all the trouble, all the suffering in the world is simply based on I and mine. Try to understand.
People try to chase each other away and steal each other's goodies.
Yes. So let's do the last couple of paragraphs here because we're running out of time. So the final thing, stage 6, is he delights in X. We're going to have an extensive discussion on clinging and desire later on in the series. But that's the final stage of the process of possessiveness. We're making things mine. So what leads up to that? So if you can stop the thing that leads up to clinging and desire, then clinging and desire is finished automatically. If you can penetrate in your own awareness into this process that we're discussing now and really see clearly how it works, then you'll be cured of it. And everything that depends on that will automatically stop.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. Dependent origination means there's a series of processes that all depend on one another. And if you remove the food, if you remove the condition,
and the cause won't
early
happen.
in the chain, the whole chain collapses.
The earlier the better.
That's what we're trying to do here.
And the last place you can stop it is delighting in X.
Phasa, contact.
Oh, Vedana.
Vedana,
there
yeah.
can be Vedana.
Oh, yes, I love this.
Yes.
Right. Oh, this is great.
When I was eating
Then
today,
you're finished.
it was good taste, but I was, instead of being like delighting in it, I just let it be the smell and the taste, and it was still pleasurable, but I wasn't like, it was a much clearer experience.
Yes, of
much
course.
More open.
Yeah.
I was able to like remain in the totality of the experience still.
Yeah, and then when it's over, it's over.
No.
You remain attached to it.
No.
You don't go around thinking, I'm going to, yes, right, you don't pig out. It's another thing. So, yeah, once you go past contact into feeling, you're lost. So what this process is seeing how this attachment, this pleasurable or displeasurable feeling actually evolves. It's in the process of I-making and mind-making. So Wetimuni goes on to say, the Putujana's experience is not merely the presence of an object. In his experience, there is both an object that is present and an apparent subject to whom the object is present. Thus, there is a present object, let's call it X, and there appears to be a present subject, I. Further, the relation between X and I is that the object concerns the subject. It is about the subject, for the subject, or belongs to the subject. The subject is master over the object, thus the object is appropriated. So, the most essential and fundamental part of the experience is X is mine. This is the root of the experience upon which all the other factors of the experience depend. So that's why it's called the root structure of the Putujana's experience. And we're all Putujanas. Until we get right view and actually begin to practice according to the real Buddha's teaching. Not the distorted Buddha's teaching, like where they take They take Christianity and they just take out Jesus and plug Buddha right in his place, you know.
Believe in the Buddha and you will be saved.
Yes, right. Buddha bless us.
I'm proud to be Buddhist.
You know, if you actually take the trouble to read the suttas, what does Buddha say? He's about to leave his body, and his brother-in-law, Ananda, is crying. And he says, Ananda, all conditioned arisings are subject to dissolution. Seek out your salvation with diligence. Those were his last words. Like, bye. You're on your own, dude. You know, this is going to happen to you. So you better get to work. Because all those years that Ananda was with the Buddha, he never became an arhat. He didn't become an arhat until the first Buddhist Congress just after the Buddha's disappearance.
Because he was always clinging to the Buddha.
It was his duty to serve the Buddha.
Yeah.
He went everywhere with him.
But he did it with clinging. If not, he would have become an arhat.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to stay in the world as like the Buddha's caretaker, you know. He wanted to be like on the lookout, you know, to watch over him and take care of him. So, you know, it was appropriate. But when the first Buddhist Congress occurred to collate the Buddha's teachings just after his disappearance, all of the big disciples were giving their remembrances, their reminiscences of the Buddha. But Ananda wasn't invited to speak because he wasn't enlightened. So he said, gosh darn it, I got to get enlightened. So he sat down one night, and in 4 hours he attained arhatship. See, people think, oh, you're going to have to meditate for lifetimes to get... No.
You got to be willing to give up.
Once you get it, once you get it, you can become enlightened in a matter of minutes.
Lay down the burden.
That's it. How long does it take to lay down the bag of rocks? Huh? Just drop it, man. But you have to see what it is and how to do it. See, like Weti Muni was saying, I really like this description. Or was it Jnanavir? Jnanavir was saying, once you see what the Buddha's teaching is and why it has to be that way, then you automatically know what has to be done. Once you reach that stage, once you reach that conception, there's nothing but time separating you from...
Downhill from there.
Yeah, it's all downhill. There's nothing but time separating you from enlightenment. That's why when someone reaches this conception, they're called a stream entrance, sotapanna. So sotapanna means a person who has entered the stream of enlightenment. All he has to do is float down the stream, and he's going to reach the ocean.
Yeah. Continuing his awareness of his experience so that he doesn't create I and mine.
Yes. Yeah, and then gradually all the karma is going to stop by itself. But there's even a higher stage where you can actually destroy the karma.
The roots.
The root karma, yeah, that is running the whole thing. That's when you become arhat. See, and then the stage of a Buddha is even higher. When you've taken that knowledge, that wisdom, that realization to the very end. But we'll be satisfied if we can attain arhatship. But my point is, once you have the conceptual breakthrough, it's a conceptual breakthrough. It's not like somebody up there in Buddha land is timing how many hours you spend sitting in meditation. No, there's nobody with a stopwatch.
Trying to find the Buddha's teaching in your own experience.
Yes, if you can, then you're on the path. If the Buddha's teaching is just a theoretical study for you, or a religious or liturgical ritual for you, then you're not making it. You're not making the changes.
You shouldn't put down the Buddha's teaching when you rise from your chair, huh? No. After reading the book.
Take it with you.
Yeah.
You take it with you. You know? It's just like if you've ever been to a jazz jam session, you know? There's always the guy in the back with the glasses and the sheet music, trying to keep up with the cool cats. You know, and he's not making it. Really? He's not making the changes. No, because he has to read. And it's going by so fast. And what happens if they decide to just go off the edge? Huh? I heard this happen, actually, one time at a concert. It was in Cleveland. Was it Cleveland or Columbus? I think Cleveland, Ohio. And that trumpet player was playing. Him and his brother and his father were all famous musicians. I forget the guy's name. He's from New Orleans. Anyway, they have a piano player, blind piano player. And this guy is like the guru. He's like down with the whole thing, you know. And so they were playing along, they were playing their theme song, you know. And it was getting near the end of the show, and they were playing the bridge, you know. And the bridge, you know how the bridge in a jazz song it usually goes like far out into another tonality, and then it comes back at the end, right? So they went far out, and the piano player just stayed there. He didn't come back. And like the guys, the horn players, like looked at him. You know, and he was like a rock. He was just there, you know. And they said, okay, you know. And they were off the charts, man. They were off the charts. They were out there. You know, that's what all these terms mean, okay? They come from a certain context. If somebody says off the chart or out there, what does it mean? Well, it comes from jazz, you know. Yeah, you have to make the scene and be a jazz musician, and then you'll know what they mean. Cool. You know, Nibbana. You know, you have to be there. You had to be there in the 50s with Miles Davis and Coltrane and all those people to understand what that means.
You needed total awareness there.
Right. You can't rely on anything outside of you. You have to experience the thing directly and respond authentically in the moment. No chance to refer to the charts. No way to analyze it, figure it out. There's no time.
And the high-level artists like that.
Yeah. They're ready for it to happen anytime. Anytime. Eric Dolphy, my teacher, and he was like that. I mean, he would go out. He would go out and stay out. It was up to everybody else to like keep up with him. You know, he was so cool. But he's the guy who used to, you know, have conversations with birds with his horn. So, you know, where is he at? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a state of awareness where you are perfectly aware of all these things. And in that state of awareness, you automatically begin to function in a new way. Or actually, it's the old way, the normal way.
Uncovered, unclouded.
Right, with no artificial ingredients, huh?
Crystal clear.
Yeah, organic. So we're trying to make different similes and metaphors here to talk about something that most people get very confused, the Buddhist teaching. And even the people who have been in Buddhism, like there are people here in Sri Lanka who've been in it their whole lives and their family's been in it for generations, they still get it wrong.
Yeah.
Because they go along with some fashion, some fad.
Tradition often.
Yeah, tradition like that. The Buddhist teaching is much more subtle than ordinarily presented. And in one way, it's more difficult. But that's only because the ontological awareness required to conceive it properly is something that we are not taught deliberately. Deliberately, this knowledge is kept from us. But once you come up to speed on ontology and you go through and parse the Buddhist teaching, it's like obvious.
everyone who really wants to get it can get it.
Yeah.
Even if you're considered a dummy, if you really wanted to get it and you spend some time and energy trying to duplicate the system, you can get it.
Yeah. Because we're talking about things that are a part of everybody, that are familiar to everyone. You know, it's just like if somebody said, well, go do this lab experiment. You know, you got to have a properly equipped lab. But in this case, everybody has a properly equipped lab.
Yeah.
Called human life. That's just the way it is. And we're all subject to these same conditions. So if we look within ourselves, we're going to see these things. They're there. It's just that the Buddha had this special gift of being able to describe it in such a way as to make it clear.
Yeah.
And this is a very important point, he also stripped away those questions that distract us, that deviate us, the useless questions, the unanswerable questions. He called them invalid questions. Like, is there a soul? Is there a God? Is there eternal life? Is there life after death? Is there not life after death? All these questions, he said, are invalid.
Yeah.
What matters is, right here, right now, you have this process that we've been talking about going on in your experience. You can find it. You can see it for yourself. And then what happens will happen all by itself. You don't need a plan. You don't need a schedule. You don't need a manual. You don't need a set of stages to go through. Once you see what you're doing to yourself, believe me, you'll stop.
Yeah. Once you see it, it's obvious.
Yeah. So, that's enough for today. And we'll talk to you some more next time.
Mm-hmm.